What happened when this cruel photo went viral is a lesson for us all. The internet offers many bullies or unhappy people a place to attack strangers with their words. Unfortunately, the victims of these types of bullies are usually always the same, attacking the most vulnerable people and mercilessly belittling their physical appearance and lifestyle without caring about the feelings of the other person, nor who might come to read those insults. It seems as if many get some kind of pleasure out of hurting others with their words and using technology to be able to do so with impunity, and today's story is no exception. With it, we relive again the same injustice of having to see how an innocent person who has done no harm to anyone suffers the worst of humiliations. The difference is that on this occasion, the protagonist of our story does not remain silent, and against all odds decides to confront her harassers and stand up for all those who, like her, had to suffer this torture in silence. Jennifer Knapp Wilkinson was a happily married 42-year-old woman who lived a normal, quiet life with her 3 children and husband in sunny Miami. She graduated cum laude with a degree in fine arts, and although her initial goal was to make a living from her work as a sculptor and to make her work known around the world, she ended up becoming the director of a respected art academy that she herself helped to found. And what was the reason that led her to give up her dream and change the course of her life completely? Well, among many other things that we will not go into now, the main reason for her resignation was first her health and then love. While she was finishing her last year of her master's degree in fine arts, Jennifer met Pierce Smith, an art history student with whom she coincided in her study hours in the library of the faculty and with whom she ended up falling madly in love. At the same time, Jennifer was diagnosed with spondylolisthesis, a rare disease affecting her spine that caused great pain in her upper trunk and weakness in her legs. A late diagnosis in her opinion, because had she known about it earlier, many things Jennifer had to go through in her childhood and adolescence would not have happened, and much of the pain she had to experience would have been perfectly avoidable. But to make it easier for you and to know exactly what we're referring to with all this, we'll do a little recap of Jennifer's childhood and what being a not very agile girl with a not very slender figure meant for her. Jennifer was never an athletic child. She never liked to play sports, neither at school or outside of it. Physical education was a real torture for her, and if she passed it, it was because the teacher felt sorry for her and knew she was a good student, who never stopped trying even though she was well aware that she would not succeed. Despite all this, Jen never gave up and tried her best, sometimes even putting her own health at risk, but even then she could not achieve the minimal level required in any of the tests she took. Her aptitude for sports was null and void. It was obvious and she assumed it. Neither in school nor in high school, much less in college, she managed to overcome that failure, becoming a great burden that she carried on her back and that left her marked for her life. A burden that could have been avoided if doctors had taken more seriously when she complained of severe back pain when she was only 8 years old. But that didn't happen, and Jen needed to endure the teasing and leering of all her classmates until her adulthood, making her an insecure person full of complexes about her physique and lack of balance. And now back to the present and returning to the story we were telling you, in which our protagonist Jennifer Knapp had to face all the fears of her past on any given day while doing her weekly shopping in her local Walmart. Jen was in the beverage section buying her husband's favorite soft drinks when suddenly, as were her wont, she lost her balance. It all happened so fast she barely had time to react. Her right leg failed her and she lost her balance, and Jen tried to grab onto a nearby shelf which proved impossible, and she ended up falling to the floor of the supermarket. Luckily, she didn't hurt herself, and after several attempts, she managed to straighten up and get back on her feet while leaning on the nearby shelves. She was used to losing her balance. In fact, in recent months it had become increasingly common, and her back pains had been increasing, so she was not surprised to find herself in such a situation. Damn, again my leg fails me. This is so embarrassing. At least this time there were no witnesses and no one could laugh at my clumsiness, Jennifer thought out loud as she struggled to her feet. At the time of her little accident, Jennifer seemed to be completely alone in that part of the supermarket, something she was grateful for. She didn't have to have an audience when she suffered such small imbalances, and she was more than used to getting up alone. Unfortunately, that afternoon, Jennifer was not as alone as she thought. Also, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these real-life stories every day. Now, back to the story. In fact, there was one person who stayed very close to her when she fell to the ground, recording with his cell phone everything that happened but without intervening at any time. It was a young man about 20 years old or younger whom she couldn't identify because he was wearing a cap and ran out of the supermarket when she tried to ask him for explanations. The boy decided to let her fall to the ground instead of helping her, checking if she was alright, and to make matters worse, he decided to record the moment with his cell phone and share it on the internet so everyone could see. What Jennifer wasn't prepared for was to happen next. The woman had experienced humiliations throughout her life, especially when she was a child, but what that young man put her through managed to outweigh them all. 2 days after the incident, an acquaintance of the family told her husband that he'd seen a video of his wife falling to the ground circulating on social networks. Pierce, I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you this, but my wife saw a rather embarrassing video of Jennifer while looking at her Instagram account. In the video, she's seen falling to the ground and trying to get up without anyone's help. Although that's not the worst thing, the comments people have been making are a real calamity. I'm really sorry, he commented to Jennifer's husband while they were talking on the phone. Charlie was an old friend of the family with whom he had a very good relationship, and he was very angry with what happened. "If you need anything at all, you know where we are," finished Charlie in an attempt to help them, although the truth is that he could do little or nothing about it. Both Pierce and his wife had open profiles on Instagram and Facebook, especially since their children were old enough to use a smartphone, but they never liked them and hardly used them in their daily lives. Perhaps that's why Jennifer knew absolutely nothing of what was going on until that moment. However, when she saw herself falling into that video in an Instagram post from an anonymous profile, she wished she'd never known. Next to the video was a small caption that read, "This is what happens when you're so fat you can't even stand up." But if that wasn't enough, in the comments that accompanied the video, hundreds of users around the world were making fun of her for being obese and falling on the ground. An endless list of insults and put-downs that Jennifer couldn't finish reading. Many reacted with surprising anger, brutally insulting a woman they didn't even know. They mocked her weight, called her a slob, and even blatantly rejoiced in her misfortune. Of course, these people knew nothing of Jennifer's history, that she's a full-time mother, nor that she has serious health problems that prevent her from maintaining her balance. And of course, they also didn't know that she was a respected artist and director of one of the most important art academies in the city of Miami. No one knew who she was, but no one hesitated to attack her. But what they also didn't know, and to everyone's surprise, is that Jennifer was not going to keep silent, and that she was going to defend herself to the end. Many people would shy away from conflict when so many unknown users are coming at you with hate. Jennifer, however, decided to defend herself. Knowing that this would draw even more attention to the cruel photo taken without her knowledge, she proceeded to reply to them with another post in which she tagged the account that had decided to record her embarrassing moment. The reason I'm sharing this is that people think it's funny to make fun of people with disabilities. Today I'm here to explain that it's not, and that if you mess with someone there will always be consequences, even if you hide through the internet and fake a social network account, she began explaining in her post. Jennifer countered the accusations of being lazy by explaining in great detail what her complex spinal condition consisted of. She also explained that because of her rare condition, the more time she spent on her feet, the more likely she was to fall, something to which unfortunately she was already very accustomed. She went on to explain that on the day in question she was feeling particularly weak and sore. Her mental health was not good at the time either, but she still went to buy food for her family. She also made it clear that no offensive remarks could ever hurt her, because she'd heard them all her life and they could do no harm. Her disability had made her stronger, and no soulless joker was going to tear down everything she'd accomplished. "You can't see my disabilities, but they're there and they're real. So the next time you see pictures making fun of someone, remember that you don't know anything about those people or the difficulties they face every day. Making fun of someone is never fun. There are consequences, and there are real people you could be doing irreparable harm to," she went on to say throughout the post. Later on, she goes on to confront accusations that she was a lazy woman for having that unkempt physique and assumptions that spoke between choosing to be overweight or physically challenged. "As if I could have chosen to be sick or not," exclaimed the woman, full of anger at one point in the text. And she ended by sentencing the post with an appeal for tolerance and humanity. Obese people are treated as less than human and something to be ridiculed. I just want people to be aware that fat people are people too. We can't go around laughing at people because of their physical appearance. It's totally inhumane. She ends by explaining that she is not looking for any kind of apology or pity, but is simply trying to promote understanding and compassion. "I'm a person, please treat me like one," she finished by saying at the end of her post. Reactions to Jennifer's incredible response post were not long in coming, and contrary to what many expected, the woman received a flurry of comments congratulating her for being so brave and not being afraid to come forward despite the humiliation she'd been subjected to. Jennifer's post quickly made the video of her falling into oblivion, and her message of revulsion against online bullying and obese people took center stage. Everyone praised and supported her through thousands of comments, and what started as a post of struggle became a campaign of love and tolerance towards all people. Jennifer's bravery reminds us once again that although the internet is a tool full of dangers where people without a soul can do a lot of harm, if we use it correctly and send the right message, social networks can become the best tool to build a more tolerant and humane society. Did you like this touching and surprising story? If so, we invite you to leave us a comment expressing your opinion. If you want to continue enjoying inspiring stories like this one, subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos shown at the bottom of the screen. Thank you for your cooperation.